Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. It's Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Alright, we have some pretty good stuff today. A lot of NFL talk. I will talk a little baseball later in the show. We're actually going to open with basketball. So Draymond Green is looking for a max extension with the Warriors. And, over the past, I'd say, year is when I started to appreciate Draymond Green more, just because of his value, to the Warriors. His value is not to be, what's it called? You can't underestimate his value, because he has first of all, he has a higher net rating than Steph and Clay. That's number one. The plus-minus in the playoffs for him last year, they were plus 117 with him on the floor and minus 6 with him off the floor. He has incredible value to the Warriors, and it's important to keep him. And they're probably gonna run into a bit of a problem because it's ego and money that break up dynasties. Like, the Bulls was ego. It wasn't the money thing, it was ego with Jerry Krause, Bill Jackson. And, he's a guy you want to keep, really, because of his value to the team. And I think, obviously, I went over the plus-minus stat. If they get rid of him, I think their team would suffer a bit. I mean, having Steph and Clay isn't too shabby either, but I think Draymond Green just brings a different level of, intensity, I guess, to the game and to the Warriors, He's more of a catalyst on the court. He's not really the offensive guy, but he's vital on the defensive side, So I just think, giving him a max extension might be a bit of an issue, but I don't think it would be wrong to pay him, But we'll see what they do. So, Jimmy G is... There's a pretty good chance he's getting traded this year. I think he could benefit. There's a lot of teams in the league he could benefit. Definitely. I think the Browns might be an interesting fit because, yes, Deshaun Watson is probably going to be the starter, but he might be suspended. The NFL hasn't made a decision on that yet. He might be suspended for 8 games. What would be so wrong about getting Garoppolo? And there is a chance he could be more of a backup. He'd be the best backup in the league, but that's probably better for him, It's less of a risk of injury, which is his biggest problem by far. But I think the Browns is an interesting choice. He could go to the Texans. They have no one, but maybe he can go to the Texans if he wants to waste his career away. The Falcons is interesting. They are in a full rebuild, though, so I don't think it would be good. They're in a full rebuild, so I don't think it would be good for them to sign a quarterback who's already about midway through his career. I think they're on the right path rebuild-wise right now. They drafted a rookie quarterback, Desmond Ridder. He'll do whatever. We'll see. But if they're in a full rebuild, it's not really smart for them to sign anyone right now. The Seahawks is another very interesting one. The Seahawks have someone who can start. They have Drew Lock, and if they're really feeling desperate, they could start Geno Smith. But, I think Jimmy Garoppolo might be able to fit well there. And they have some weapons. They have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, although, if I'm Garoppolo, see, the thing is, it has to benefit both teams. I think, honestly, the two best teams that I think he can go to are the Browns, where he would be a starter for a few games until Deshaun Watson gets back, and then he's a very capable backup, And I don't think that's a bad thing at all for Jimmy G, because, like I said, less risk of injury for him, and that's his biggest problem. So, but onto the Giants. I think the Giants is a good fit for him. They made some decent signings last year, which got people believing in them, but they didn't really do much with those signings at all. What did they have? They got Kenny Galladay. He's a pretty good receiver. They're, I don't know. Their team's just a little rough right now, and honestly, his best bet, it might be the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, again, it's a rough go for them right now. But at least he'd be a starter there. I think that's what Jimmy G would rather do. I think that's what anyone would rather do, be a starter for an NFL team, not a backup. But I think the most efficient choice would be the Browns, and maybe the best choice would be the Seahawks. It's tough. But think about it. He was great in the playoffs and down the stretch last year. Like, he could help any team. Like, the Niners, you can say, okay, he'll probably be worse without Shanahan. Everyone is worse without Shanahan. Like, it's hard to find any other coach better than him. So you're obviously going to downgrade a bit when you leave him, Like, if he goes from Shanahan to Pete Carroll, I think Pete Carroll is pretty good, but he's not Shanahan. And if he goes from Shanahan to Stefanski, then it's like another downgrade. Like, of course he's not going to be as good. But it's like, well, you got to think about this, though. The Niners last year, when they didn't have Jimmy G, did they make the play? I don't think so. Like 2 years ago, not last year. The last 2 years they've had him. They made the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs, but they were leading in the fourth quarter. And last year, they made it to the NFC Championship with Jimmy G and lost to the Rams, who went on to win the Super Bowl. So they're pretty close. But they're only close when they have Jimmy G. When they don't have him and they're stuck with backups, then it's an entirely different story. I think the only thing Jimmy G does for teams is help them. As long as they're not going... As long as Jimmy G isn't a downgrade for them. Like, a downgrade would be like having him succeed Tom Brady if Brady retires this year and, they trade for Jimmy G. That would be a downgrade, obviously, but anyone is a downgrade from Brady. But, he's an upgrade from Locke. He's an upgrade from whoever the Browns' backup is. If he goes to the Giants, he's an upgrade from Daniel Jones. Like I said, people are forgetting. Like, he went into the playoffs and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who were the best team in the NFC at that point, and then took the Rams to the fourth quarter. And he was winning in the fourth quarter, and then the Rams took over and won. But he was pretty damn close to beating the Rams as well. And Stafford, who we all thought was, or really we all knew, once he got to the right team, he'd be an amazing quarterback. All right. So Julio Jones apparently took the Bucs over. He picked the Bucs over the Packers, Saints, and Colts. Apparently, we're also looking for a receiver. You know, it annoys me when the Packers don't look at anyone to sign. It annoys me even more when they look at someone to sign and don't get them. Like last year, I was annoyed. I was pointing out receivers, actually, that the Packers could have gotten. And they, like there were decent options for receivers last year. Juju would have been a decent fit with the Packers, I think. T.Y. Hilton, even, honestly, he's old, but capable. Like, anyone would have been better than just not doing anything. Especially now, because say that if they signed Juju, I think it would be better. Their receiving core would look stronger on paper than it does right now. They have a rookie receiver, Christian Watson, who might be... He has potential. But, I mean, Rodgers is in his last 4 years, I think. Like, 4 years is the max he's going to go. And right now they have an old Randall Cobb who can still make plays every once in a while, but he's not this number one guy, You got Alan Lazard, who we don't know his capability right now. He scored like 8 touchdowns last year, but I think he did benefit greatly from all the attention being drawn to Adams. Like now, all the attention is going to be drawn to him. Because he's the one Rodgers probably trusts the most right now. Because out of everyone in the Packers receiving core, Lazard is the most talented one that knows Green Bay's system best, Like, Cobb knows Rodgers best, but that's not going to be his number one target, It's just... Packers are in a worse position. Anyway, back to Julio Jones. I believe Julio Jones is trying to get a ring before he retires. And he has a much better chance with the Bucs. The Bucs are much closer to a Super Bowl than the Packers, Saints, or Colts. It's... And he's probably more valuable to the Packers if they signed him. Again, he's older, but capable. We could use someone that we know what we're getting. We don't know what we're getting with Christian Watson or Alan Lazard. We don't know how they're going to work. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So Jalen Hurts says that there is a big difference having the same offense for 2 straight seasons. And I said this before, it's the second year in the same system where you pick it up, really. Like, that's what I predicted with LeBron and the Lakers. Like, he'll win it year 2. Maybe not year 1, but year 2. That's what happened. Also in Miami with LeBron, he won year 2 as well. And in Cleveland. It's always year 2. Where they get used to the system. Unless you're Tom Brady, you can just adjust to a system and win a Super Bowl immediately, apparently, For Tom Brady, you win a Super Bowl, even if you have no idea, even if you're just getting on a team, you're going to learn the system right away, and you're going to win a Super Bowl that year. Anyway, by the way, if you watched that press conference yesterday, Hurts looked bigger than the average quarterback. I think yesterday he looked like, I don't know, he looked like a big running back kind of. He just looked more bulked, like more muscular. It's crazy. I really think the Eagles have a chance next year. I think they're going to be like a dark horse in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I honestly don't think they're even going to win a playoff game at the moment. But I think they're only getting better, and I think they should be a lock to win the NFC East. The only threat to them is the Cowboys. I think the Commanders and the Giants have no shot right now. I think they're in the cellar. Those two teams. Those two teams are done. And then the Cowboys, I just think the Eagles are better ran than the Cowboys right now. And no, that's not a crazy statement. The Eagles, I think, have a better organization at the moment than the Cowboys. I think they have a better... The Cowboys have a better quarterback. That's really all they have, in my opinion. Like, maybe a better offense, I guess. You know? They don't have a better defense. They're one of the worst defenses in the NFL, the Cowboys. You know, and like I've said this multiple times, Nick Sirianni is better than I expected. He's not a bad coach at all. Jalen Hurts is only going to get better. Devontae Smith is only going to get better. This should be a team that, you know, is a threat in the future. Alright, so Tua, I've been kind of up and down on him since he got in the league. Like 2 years ago, what was that? Never mind. A year ago, I disagreed with the critics because it wasn't that I disagreed with them. I thought some of their points were correct, but I thought they were jumping to conclusions on Tua when you only played 9 games. You know, and I don't know. Like, yes, he's a little limited with his ability. His arm he doesn't have a huge arm to make downfield throws, but he can, you know, he can develop that with time. You know, like, you can't just judge him based off his first 9 games. I don't think even Brady's first 9 games were incredible. I think he had a great Patriots team surrounding him. And that's why he won a lot of those games, but I guarantee you, if you check the stat sheet from those games, Brady was probably not that impressive. You know, but what Tua said at the podium yesterday is, and I actually like what he said. He said, if I can't hear you, you're not important to me. Probably in reference to people that make comments on social media about his play. You know, and he's good at the podium, I think. I think he's great in press conferences. I said this about Tomlin yesterday, Mike Tomlin. He's great at the podium as well. Tomlin just knows what to say at, like, any time, any question. But, you know, what they say means nothing. It shouldn't mean anything to professional athletes, you know, like... Because professional athletes are, like, more successful than a bulk of the population. Like, they are more successful than the average man. You know, like, they're making more money in a week than you'll make in an entire year. And they're probably making more money in a month than you'll make, like, in your life. You know, like, that's why I didn't I don't even know when it was. It was a few years ago. Obviously, when Devontae Parker, I think it was Devontae Parker who criticized Michael Thomas for only winning slants, and Thomas just went crazy. Like, he was defending himself, you know, and I thought it was unreasonable because, like, and yes, it's different because Devontae Parker is a NFL player, but, like, you should just shrug that off. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, like, just you have to keep some of your thoughts to yourself sometimes, you know? It's, you know, and I've had criticisms of Tua's play in the last few years, but I think in the last year, my bad. I've had criticism of Tua, but, you know, I think he's capable of being a great player. I do. And again, this was his first full year. He hasn't had a full year before this. You can't judge. All right. So, it doesn't matter now, but what I was going to talk about was DK. He's not practicing with the Seahawks while he is working on an extension. He got one. But you know what I really think about this? It's I think everyone knows why he wants an extension. He got a 3-year, $72 million extension. And he gets a receiver record $30 million signing bonus. I think that's but you know why he wants to get paid now? It's because Drew Lock and Geno Smith are nowhere near Russell Wilson's level. His numbers are going to drop dramatically. That's why he wants to get paid now. A year early. He doesn't want to get paid next year because his numbers are going to be down. And you know what the Seahawks are going to say? They're going to say, your numbers are down. Why should we give you an extension? It's pretty simple. It's a team that I think might be a bottom 3 team in the league next year. They have no redeeming qualities other than DK Metcalf. Wagner's gone. Wilson's gone. And you got Tyler Lockett, okay, but how are they going to get the ball with Drew Lock and Geno Smith as their quarterbacks? And Pete Carroll's okay. I don't think he's a bad coach by any means, but I also don't think he's a great coach right now. I think he's outdated, really. But the thing is, when they start, they're going to start off bad, the Seahawks. They're not going to have a good start at all. And they're not going to have anyone in that locker room. They're not going to have a leader to kind of just, get their spirits up, really, I guess. Or, motivate them to keep going, because Wagner's gone, he's their defensive leader. Wilson's gone, he was their leader, and what's it called? There's talent on the team, but there is no leaders on that team, and that's going to be a big problem when they start 2-6. So, Cameron Hayward said that Ben Roethlisberger's comments about NFL players rubbed him the wrong way. I agree. I don't think it's about a me-first mentality, though. I think players and coaches are different. And I think Big Ben probably... I think he was shooting... I think he was targeting... That's a better word. Targeting coaches specifically. Mainly Tomlin, I think. Because... Think about it, he mentioned his college coach and he mentioned Bill Cowher. But, when he was talking about how he wasn't coddled. But he didn't mention Tomlin. And, Tomlin, I think, is a phenomenal coach. But I do think he does have more leeway for dramatic players than most coaches do. Most great coaches do. It's just Ben apologized for it, saying he didn't... I don't know, he said something along the lines of he didn't mean it that way, I guess. I think it was more significant coming from an ex-teammate, though. If it had came from someone Ben was never associated with, he probably wouldn't have reacted. But it came from Cameron Hayward, one of his former teammates. He had to... Probably felt he had to say something. Alright, so Justin Fields has said that his failure of last year's Bears is pushing him to go even harder. And, with Fields and Trey Lance, I think that they're two very interesting players for this year. The difference is Trey Lance has a much better supporting cast and a proven head coach, And supporting system matters, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields. I think they all have more talent than Trey Lance, but he'll probably be more successful. Just because of the support system. He's got Shanahan. Wilson has Robert Saleh. He's not proven. Trevor Lawrence has Doug Peterson, who is proven, but he hasn't coached the Jaguars before. This is his first year. And Justin Fields, he just has a bad roster. And I did think Matt Eberflus from the Colts was a good head coaching hire for the Bears, but he's still not proven. Because, let's be honest, I also thought Urban Meyer was a good head coaching hire for the Jaguars, and he absolutely wasn't. But they're all Wilson, Fields, Lawrence have more natural talent than Trey Lance does. But Lance, I'm predicting right now, is going to be more successful because of the support system. So, alright, Notre Dame, what's it called? Released, kind of a spoof, showing off their new, Shamrock jerseys, and I honestly did not think Notre Dame would come back, because I thought they were dead. I think what is it? I think Freeman is a very underrated coach. Last year they were 11-2, and they didn't get started with Freeman until later in the year, but I think this team has good potential for the next year, and I'm glad they're back. Alright. So Kyler Murray defended himself following the independent study clause. And he says he puts incomprehensible work in. And I think his point really is, the point he made before his independent clause was, he thinks he was born with, a gift, with great knowledge of football, and he doesn't think he has to stay in the film room 24 hours a day, just watching film, because he thinks he has a good understanding of the game. That was pretty much what he said. And, I think that's the point he was trying to, if he has all this talent, he doesn't have to put all that work in. And like I said yesterday, what's it called? Brady doesn't have all that talent, so he does put all that work in. It's different. It's different players, though. Entirely different. One is one of the most talented, athletic quarterbacks in the league right now. And one is, pretty immobile. And, what's it called? He didn't have any talent, but he has a work ethic that no one else does. Anyway, Matt Rule said that Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield will both get starting reps at camp, and I really don't know what they're doing here. I think if you have two quarterbacks that are capable of starting, you're in a bad spot. You really have no one. at that point, because it's like you're going to spend the entire offseason when you could be spending it, on how to make the team better. You're spending it more so you're going to spend the entire summer on the quarterback battles, like who's the right quarterback. And like I said, they both have a good chance because Baker's a better player, but Darnold knows the team better. He knows the offense better, and Matt Rule is on the hot seat and Grant isn't gonna get fired, so he might just stick with Sam Darnold to be safe. They just put themselves in a very complicated situation. All right, now we're gonna talk about the Subway Series. First of all, Max Scherzer was great last night, and I'm a Yankee fan, obviously, so I'm a little annoyed by the series sweep, but I will admit the Mets kind of took over the series, but the Yankees, they've had a rough go at it this year. They've lost Sevy again, one of their best pitchers. They've lost Michael King. Now that's a huge blow. He should have made the All-Star game. They lost Chad Green at the beginning of the year, one of their best relievers, and it's just they're in a rough spot now. The Mets, on the other hand, this was definitely their time to shine this series. And like I said, I think Scherzer, him pitching, is when he pitches for the Mets, they're going to win 9 times out of 10. Especially when he's pitching like he was last night. It's just it's probably the best pitcher. I mean, he might be at his best, maybe the best pitcher in baseball, Max Scherzer. Obviously, when healthy, DeGrom is going to be considered better, but DeGrom's better when he's healthy. I should say that. But the thing is, DeGrom's never healthy, so it's tough to evaluate pitchers like that. DeGrom's great when he's when you have to say when he's healthy after a player being great, it normally means they're never healthy. Like Julio Jones is great when he's healthy, or was great when he was healthy, but he was hardly ever healthy. So it was hard to say for sure if he was the best receiver in the league or not. But Scherzer, great pitcher. Mets played very well the last 2 nights, and but it doesn't mean the Yankees are frauds or incapable of beating the Mets in the playoffs once they roll around. If they face the Mets in the World Series, honestly, that would be awesome, I think. And I do think there are other teams that can contend with the Yankees. Obviously, the Astros, I think, are the one team that can really contend in the AL, that can stop them from making the World Series. The Astros, I think, it would be terrible, honestly, as a Yankee fan, though, to see the Astros beat them in the ALCS again. That would be terrible. I would not want to see that. That would be rough. Alright. The NFL season, I'm moving on to the NFL right now because I just, I've already explained, I like the NFL more than, I'm more invested in it than baseball and than the NBA and MLB right now. And obviously yesterday I went over some stories that I'm interested in for the offseason. Here are more. I think, I want to know if Dan Campbell can coach. Actually, here are, I'm going to do 5 questions I have for this offseason. One is going to be, can Dan Campbell actually coach? We saw, the Lions were, honestly, they were better last year than I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be like 2-15 or something, but they were 4-13. They weren't the worst team in the league. So that was automatically better than I expected because I thought they'd be the worst. But I want to know if he can coach. Another question is, how will Kyler Murray, do under contract? You know, like, sometimes once players get paid, it's like, you know, they kind of lose interest. It's like, okay. They're less dedicated. Because I shouldn't say lose interest. They're less dedicated. You know, it would be like, oh, I'm already getting like $30 million a year. I'm set. You know? And I don't think Murray's going to do that, but you can never be too sure. Also, another question, obviously I talked about this earlier in the show. How will the Seahawks, you know, like, they're not going to be great without Russ, that's obvious, but I want to know what they, you know, how they're even going to make that a functioning organization without him. Like, obviously they're not going to be a great team, but, like, I just want to see what they do to fix that. You know, I just want to see what steps they're going to take, possibly, and I don't know. Just. Alright, fourth question. How will Trey Lance fare? You know, we've been hearing reports that he isn't that good, but he's getting praise from his players and coaches. But I don't know. It's like, it's really a we'll see kind of thing, you know? It's not, can't be 100% sure on it. And my final question is this the last year for Daniel Jones? Because last year I thought it would be clear that he wasn't the guy, and I thought they'd try to get rid of him. But they didn't try to get rid of him. They just kept him here. You know, so I just want to see what they do with him, the Giants, later in the season. But this is all just interesting questions, nothing I know yet on the NFL season. So, alright. This was Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. It's Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. And have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.